still not seeing it on YouTube on your channel.
I see it. So it's that super
I
trippy
see it.
time delayed thing.
Still not seeing it on YouTube on your channel. Muted it.
Muted it. Ooh, that was fun.
Oh, here.
Okie dokie. So how did I have it layered last time so that I didn't go crazy with chat? All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our crazy show. And I'm sorry we're late. It turns out that there's like really simple, except for the one step that just wasn't obvious. And we are here and happy to be with you. Welcome. I'm Sarah, also known as Imagine Landscapes.
And I'm Katie, also known as Aurora114. Sarah, tell me about the tea you're drinking.
That's a good place to start. That's calming. All right, I'm even going to take a sip first. This is David's tea, the dark chocolate orange, because it's Christmas season, and I ordered it a lot, like the first moment it was available, and then hid it away for December 1st. So that's where I'm at.
I had that one as second mug this morning, and I'm now on third mug. And this is also David's tea, their orange spice.
Awesome. I thought about doing orange spice, but then I had the dark chocolate orange already in the strainer. Because it's a pu'er one, you can reuse it. And so I was like, wow, that's just like free tea. So
I never remember to reuse it.
Yeah.
Just automatically goes into the compost bin.
Yeah. So we are here to talk about our knitting projects, our finished projects, our works in progress, and various surprise revelations maybe for each other. I'm not sure.
I see that you're wearing gnome earrings.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even put that in on the show notes. I'll have to remember to do that. Yeah, these are the niblet size from No Fun Like Gnome Fun in fingering weight. So they're really tiny.
They look very cute.
Thank you. You know, this morning I got up earlier than usual, and usually on Saturdays I let myself sleep in a bit. So that was like reverse of what was sort of supposed to happen. And so I like worked on some stuff from a tech editor, and then I made breakfast, and then I released the next clue, and then I did like more stuff, and then I showered and I put my PJs back on. I was like, well, I had to get up real early and I have to work because it's like email every day in January or December kind of a thing. Well, not every day. There's some at the end that don't, but so yeah, I put my pajamas back on. I was looking less cute.
Yeah, I had the opposite kind of morning. I didn't wake up early, but I have been moving around since longer than usual on a Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've already been to a holiday market, which I can share some items from.
Do you want to just launch right in? Because that's a segue.
Yeah, sure. So this is some of my favorite local makers. So I will start with the one that's right in front of me. It's going to make a little bit of noise in the mic. These are stitch markers from Pearl and Hank, which it's going to be hard to see, but they have etched onto them instructions. So purl 2 together, knit 2 together, slip, 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 knit, all sorts of instructions on really nice big stitch markers so that it's easy to kind of figure that out. So I love it. I think there's 2 or 3 of each instruction, which is fabulous. And then this one is from Bear and Bunny. Since I've been knitting socks again a little bit and I do my heels on DPNs, I got me one of these. It could be a little bit, the snaps could be a little bit closer for the size of the needles that I use.
You should explain what it is, because
yes, sorry,
it's not immediately
some people
obvious.
might not know. So these things are pretty great for when you're working on DPNs. What you do is you line your needles all up. This would be awkward to do while trying to record it. And then you put your needles in here. So it's a needle minder. And so your needles are more likely to stay with the project. This will be okay because this also then goes into a pattern bag or project bag. But yeah, so I got one of these. I also got a dryer ball from Long Way Homestead. And I also got Long Way Homestead's 2022 calendar, all the sheeps. And I plan on taking this into my office. I will be returning to the office in January, feeling a little conflicted about that. I work somewhere with lots and lots and lots of people. But that's happening. So I figure, I'm just going to have cute sheep at my desk. So yeah, and then I bought a couple other things that I can't talk about.
Goodness. Wonderful. And just so everyone knows, Katie and I do have the chat up for YouTube. So if you have questions about anything or comments, we are keeping an eye on this. That is part of the fun of this, is not just being able to hold things up to the camera, but also being able to interact with everyone. So join chat.
So there's a little bit of delay, but not too much. So we'll just circle back if we've moved on. Please use the chat. It really is wonderful.
Yeah. So I have an assortment here, and I don't know where to start. So I'm going to start with Advent.
Yeah.
So I have one thing that might be a spoiler. If you have the GingerSnap Santa's Favorites set, that's what I'm about to open. And while Katie was talking and she was like, oh, it'll get rustly, I muted myself and rustled it open. So
yes, Lisa, I did get my hair cut. Thank you. It's this is my I don't know what I'm gonna go get my hair cut again cut, so I can let this one go for 6 months and it'll be fine. Thank you, Lisa. And say hi to the folks who are starting to say hi in the chat.
Got hello from Germany and East Texas and all sorts of stuff. So okay, I'm gonna start with the first few days to put context in. So the inspiration picture was blues and aquas and teals. And the first day was a purple, which was kind of in keeping with the cool tones. And the second day started fading in some pink. And then it got quite pink with a little bit of purple. And today I've just opened and looked down and it did what I thought it might, which is it went sort of kind of like the first day. So the first day was purple, but an interesting purple. And then we sort of had mixes of the two. And then this one went mostly solid, but with speckles. So it's all pink, but I do see that there are some kind of orangey speckles in there. So maybe we're headed orange next. And the inspiration picture has nothing to do with what I'm getting at all. There's also a stitch marker, which looks like a field hockey stitch marker. And I'm mostly not on screen for myself in order to be able to see you and the people. So if I'm way off, just tell me. I'm trying to hold it up to the camera, but we'll see. So anyways, that's my four stuff so far. Super out of my comfort zone. So it's exciting. And I had no idea what to expect. And I can always use this sort of stuff for prizes. That's one of the neat things about what I do, is that some of the things I have that I don't personally love, but I love, I can just pass on. So that was my one Advent thing. I'm doing 5 Advent things a day, but not 5 Advent calendars.
5.
So I open the yarn calendar. I open the Gnome calendar, coming in a moment. I read a Christmas story. They're all there. I knit on my Advent socks, which we'll show in a minute. And I don't remember the 5th.
You have the yarn calendar, the Gnome calendar. And the Gnome calendar is one that you made yourself.
Yeah. Gnome calendar, yarn calendar, sock, story, something else.
Are you also doing, would you count your own gnome, like your mystery, your winter holiday?
I thought maybe I only have 4 things I'm doing every day. All right. So I'm going to link in the show notes to this, to a thing that describes where I got the things and the whole shebang. But every day I pull a gnome out and here. Oh, the cutie.
Ah, is that pull it up a little bit more? Is that a Latvian braid?
No,
What
it's
is
an
that?
Estonian braid. I took a course on that about a year ago from
Mhm.
Vogue Knitting Live. And the Estonian braid is only done over 2 rounds rather than over 4. So the Latvian braid goes 2 directions, but because of the way you make an Estonian braid, it only goes the one direction, and it just kind of creates like almost like a chevron.
Mhm.
So, and then I put a little dibble on top, and I've got a little stitch marker, and then I hang it up on a garland every day. And I had Alex, who is, I don't know, our adoptive son, our roommate, he put them all together in the thing for me. And so it's really fun because I have no idea. Even if I put them in, I don't think I would remember. Someone's asking, didn't I have 2 advent calendars? And I did order 2, but I'm only opening one now. The other one I'm actually saving for February because I think February is a terrible month. And so I'm gonna get to do this all again rather than like, I feel like we do so many things as a knitting community in Advent. Designers are doing sales every day and this thing every day and releasing and doing this and doing that. And then like we have Christmas and then we all just like sit around and twiddle our thumbs till the tulips come out. Boo, boo. So
Yeah, fair. You also, so you've got one advent calendar you're ignoring, one advent calendar you are doing, but you also have the advent sock yarn.
yes,
So
which I can't really show you, but I can show you what it looks like in a sense. So this is the Cozy Knitter from Canada. She's from Alberta somewhere, I think, or is she from Ontario? So this is also possibly a spoiler, but so I have 2 of these. I've started day 4 right there.
yeah, nice.
And what I do is every day I knit, there's 24 different colored stripes. And so each day I just knit 1 stripe on each sock. And I counted, and last year, I think I got 3 stripes into the next repeat of 24 by the end of the sock. So like I do about 11 stripes, put a heel in using a different colored yarn. I'm actually wearing them from today, but I don't know that you guys want to see my foot up. Vote in chat. And what's funny is my friend Ellen ordered the yarn because we both do this. And so she's like, well, why should we both pay for shipping? I'll just order both. So, and then she said, would you like me to offer my son's excellent secret knitting skein service so that you don't know what's coming? And I said, yes. And then she brought it to me like this. So I can't even I can't even peek because I get a yarn out of each side.
Oh, well done, Ellen.
And what's funny was when it first started, it had decoy yarn attached to each end and a little sign that said pull. So when I pulled that, it was white. I was like, oh, maybe we start with white. And I was like, no, actually, there's a color there. So, so
that's awesome. Somebody has said in the chat that the braid was so much fun and is a real beauty. So
awesome.
They've done it too. Yeah.
I'm not going to be talking much about the braid right now because of various things that I don't talk about during this season when things are kept secret.
Fair enough.
Yes.
But you've used the braid before. So
yes, I have.
Quite lovely.
People are wondering why I'm not getting too specific right now. Although just bringing it up at all.
I think it's referring to the braid on the little niblet that you just pulled out though. Right? That's not secret.
That's true. So, Katie, why don't you talk about something for a moment?
Sure. So, you got a little snippet of a sock that I'm working on right now. So this is knitting this pair for my mom. She requested this yarn last year at Christmas. So this yarn is from Dye For Ewe. It's called My Kind of Holiday Baking. And it's hard to, I'm trying to get this to focus, but if you can see over here, there's a little green speckle. So to me, that kind of looks like a sugar cookie with icing on it and sprinkles on top. and just some really beautiful, beautiful colors. What I will show you over here is I have actually completed sock number 1, which is amazing because I knit sock 1 in summer already and then brought it home Labor Day weekend and got mom to try it on. And at that point I had knit to here and it was just too tight for her to get on. So I needed to rip back, do the heel flap. We talked about this in the audio podcast. So if you listen to us there, you've heard me chat a little bit about this. And I also realized that my gauge was too tight for me to feel comfortable knitting. So I ripped the whole thing out. And when did I start these? Not that long ago. And I'm already on the gusset decreases of heel 2. So this is sock 1.
Kind of hold it pretty still.
Yes.
Don't move it around so much.
So here's sock 1. What I did want to show is I've used a square heel, which is a new one to me, and it really fits mom quite well. She's got, I think all 3 of us have fairly narrow heels.
And kind of bulbous.
And so this actually hugs it really quite nicely. And then when the last time I was home, I got mom to try this one on, and she wanted me to change the toe a little bit too. And so usually my toes are about this long. My knitted toes are about this long, and I do a decrease every other round. And with this one, I knit for an extra inch and then did a decrease every round. And as you can see, I have not Kitchenered it yet. And there's a whole little bump of yarn in here that I'm saving. So once I give them to mom, once we know that they fit her, I'll actually Kitchener the toe. So yep. Really excited to be kind of working on these.
I've got that colorway in my stash as well. I've got about 4 Christmas colorways sort of saved up, and I keep wanting to get to them. Some years I'm able to do sort of like a Christmas in July kind of a push, and I get something done then. Because what I'm discovering is right now I'm knitting the Advent socks and not Christmas socks per se.
Yes.
So yeah, I need to get on that. But you were saying you were surprised that you'd gotten so much done, but now that we're not knitting sock heads by the dozen, you do need that kind of work knitting, right? And so
and socks really are perfect stealth knitting for while I'm on Zoom meetings, which I'm going to lose when I go back into the office in January.
You'll have to see if you're allowed to knit in meetings.
I doubt my workplace will let me do that.
Just bring it up as something that allows you to focus and say, I've been knitting through every meeting we've had while we were distant, and it really helped me focus,
We'll see. I expect a no, but you're right. It's worth asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always.
So I am knitting a sockhead.
You are. Oh, that's right. You're doing one with Go.
Yeah. So I saw, like, the thing about doing all these Gnome things with dyers is I see all these combinations, and usually I'm like, breathe deep, just remember them for inspiration, or I can work with that dyer later or whatever. But this one, I was like, it's mine. I cannot resist. And this is the set from Emma's yarn for this mystery gnome. And I saw it and I loved it. And what I loved in particular was that there were 2 greens and this red and this speckle. And it was just, the 2 greens is what sold me. Sometimes we do things and it's sort of just, like just the obvious red, green and white. But when you add another depth to one of those, all of a sudden it's like, oh, it gives it like a depth. So I ordered it, and then I was feeling like, so the cats that we got when we moved to this place, and even though I was like super excited when we moved here that we had a mantle, like we had a fireplace, we had a mantelpiece, we had a nice like places to decorate. I don't decorate for Christmas as much as I would like currently because our cats are like ferocious little killers. And so I've been a little bummed that, like, normally I'm a decorating December 1st kind of like woohoo, but I haven't been for 3 years now, and it's been complicated by the pandemic. Like last year we pretty much didn't do Christmas at all around here. Like it was pretty wah wah. And this year I was feeling bummed about it, and I was like, you know what, I ordered that set. I wear a hat every day. I want a Heckin festive. I want to be Heckin festive. And so everything this year is like, oh, that's nice and Heckin festive. So this is my Heckin festive hat.
I love it.
So it's normal when we do sockheads, we start with 100 grams of yarn, but we use about 80 grams, you and I. 75, 70. So theoretically, that's enough, right? But I'm nervous. I'm nervous in part because Whisper got one of the skeins of yarn and I lost at least a couple grams of the dark green.
Oh.
And I don't want to start the decreases too late. I also don't want to start them too early. And so now I'm all like uncertain. There's a lot left to go. It doesn't feel like there's enough yarn left because, like, they're mini skeins. So each one of the mini skeins is getting smaller. But like, I think I have, well, I usually use my hand to measure. So from here to here is 7 inches. So I think we usually knit to about, what is it, 7, 8 inches?
I do 9, but I do the size up from you.
Yeah. So, okay, 8 inches might be reasonable. But I was wondering, and I wanted to sort of run this by you and the group mind, what if I did a hat where I just did a 3-needle bind off and did it where it was like the square top? Now the square tops are cute when they're on top because they then have like the little mouse ear, cat ear kind of look. But on a slouchy, you're definitely not going to get that.
No, but I mean, honestly, do it. And if you hate it, rip it out and do the normal decrease.
Yeah. I could also do it kind of like a toe where I start a decrease, like a toe, but toe shape, and then just kind of Kitchener stitch it across the top.
I think what you'll get with that though is it'll start to flatten out a little bit. I have a hat from that was Dad's in the 70s that's shaped like that, and it very much just like it does awkward things with its shape. Whereas if you are just knitting straight and then do a Kitchener or a 3-needle bind off across the top, you won't get that. Like, you'll be able to wear it. If you do a toe, you're always gonna have to like look at it before you put it on and make sure you're lining it up the way you want it to. With a 3-needle bind off, it's not going to be as important if you do that. Yeah,
that's true. Because I just like the thing about doing it kind of a modified toe is it like it basically creates the hoser hat, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is it becomes a hoser hat.
And that is a super Canadian reference. Feel free to Google Doug and Bob McKenzie. Bob and Doug McKenzie, their 12 Days of Christmas is a particular genuine masterpiece that no one should be without in December.
It's true.
My favorite part in that whole song is they're trying to remember what the 12 Days of Christmas are, but in a very Canadian way. And at one point, the angelic chorus that backs them up is just like, no, we're done. And they like rush them through. It is so funny.
Yeah, it's great. I think somebody's said in the chat that they love the colors. I agree. So can you hold that up again and remind us who you bought that from?
Yes, this is Emma's yarn.
And they are located where?
So it's a slightly complicated thing. So this is, I think, called the legal tender set. They don't have necessarily like really firm names for their sets because they have so many minis that they kind of just name it based on one color. So Emma's yarn is a homeschooling or a former homeschooler who works with her mother, and they really work to support local yarn shops. So you can't buy their yarn online unless you find an online yarn shop that sells it. So they do have that listed on their website. Okay. I bought mine through For Pearls Yarn, which is her mom's shop.
Okay.
But that's like, so when you go there, you'll just be linked to yarn shops, and then the yarn shops will have various sets. Cool. So it, I believe, is the legal tender, because that's the name of this lighter polka dotty. The color that in my brain I call the Grinch green.
Yes.
So I'm very excited to be Heckin' Festive. I weave in my ends as I go. I knit them as I go, but here I have not. And the reason for that is because with the sock head, you want to flip the brim up. And so if I weave them in, then they're on the public side. The wrong side is the right side. So I need to flip like so I didn't want to knit them in on the right side because at that point I hadn't made all my decisions. So
I have been if I'm doing something like that, looks so good. If I've been doing something like that, I'm not weaving in ends. I always do a knot.
Yeah.
And then snip the ends close to the knot, and then there's nothing to weave in at the end, and then there's no right side and wrong side.
Yeah. So that is my plan. Is I've been knitting in the ends up the hat, but here at the brim I did not.
Yeah.
So it looks messier than I like to see it. It gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit.
Yeah. I have a big awkward project that I can share.
Ooh.
The
Big, awkward,
continuation
exciting.
blanket is going quite well. This is a pattern by Holly Yo, and I just straight up ordered the Knit Picks kit colors. So there is a fuchsia, and then there is a purple, and then there is a blue. And so I'm about to join these ones. That's why they're loose in front of me. So obviously I'm knitting this with Knit Picks Mighty Stitch, which is a worsted weight yarn that is 80% acrylic, 20% superwash. It is soft and it is smooshy. Made even more smooshy because to knit this, you hold 3 strands together at once and then slowly swap out one color for another. Oh man, when I put this down, I was midway through a row. So I'm at the point now where I am adding.
The camera really can't handle that. It does not know what to do. It just blows out. It's like,
yeah.
When your face is in, it's better. The color's better. Just so you know, the camera like kind of has a clue then.
So yeah, let's see if I can do this again. So we've got the pink, and then I start bringing in more of the purple, and then more of the purple, and then just purple, and then we're fading in the blue. And so I have just started the first row where I've got 2 blue and 1 purple. So it's just big and it's smooshy and it's just, I love it.
It's so funny because it really does not look fuchsia. It looks more like a burgundy or wine color, the way the camera's treating it. So just if you go to the Knit Picks website, it's like the main blanket option.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is I don't often buy the yarn that's on the pattern page, but this one it just spoke to me.
It was just
I wasn't in a mood to like figure out what other colors I might want to do, and so I just did it. So yeah, awesome. But it is very definitely fuchsia. I mean, you've seen it in person.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah.
So I have one more whip and then an FO to show. And my whip has possible conundrums.
All right.
So let's talk about my tin can sweater.
No. Again?
Yes. So the other day, I am knitting Strange Brew, which is a colorwork sweater recipe. And I'm knitting it in the top-down version. It's written for 3 different weights. So what I wanted to do was use leftovers and I wanted to marl them. So I'm doing the DK weight version, holding 2 strands of fingering weight at the same time. I divided my yarn into a grays group and like a black group, like black and gray, the dark side. And then I decided it into like the lighter blues, purples, and greens that tend to make up a lot of my stash. And it was working really well. I ran out of one of the blacks. I joined in my gray, which seemed like a really great and obvious choice, just to go from a really dark color. Like I have a little bit of a super dark navy in there already and some plain black and some dark black. So this was the next color I chose. And then 2 rounds later, I needed to also change the blue or the stripe. So I'm doing 8 row stripes of the accent color. And so I grabbed this one, which seemed like a really great color based on the colors already on the
in the sweater.
But I don't know if you can see how close these are to each other. Mm-hmm. In person, they are practically the identical shade. There is no difference, dark and light. And I knit and knit and knit, and it looked like there was no color. It just looked like a slightly vomitous gray. It was like a gray with a green cast. Like it just didn't look right.
Yeah.
So I ripped back. And so today I was like, oh, for the podcast, I need to be able to show it because I had it on, like I ripped back, and that's like a big thing to do. Normally when I do that, I have someone help me. I didn't have someone to help me. So I just was like, rip, and I just cut things off. And then I put it on a needle, but it was a very short needle. And I was like, well, why don't I take advantage of this to actually put this on and show people? So I put it on 3 needles just before we started. And so here's what it's looking like. It's crazy. It's at the point where it's crazy enough that I think I need more to decide if it's going to work. This little patch in particular is really, it's a hard one for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is not at all your colors and your comfort zone, and I love it.
Well, it is my colors. It's just together, they're a bit much. So, okay, here's my problem. When I put this on, can we see how angel wingy this is?
Yep. Plus, it looks like the top of an 80s choir robe.
Yeah, but not only is it flaring here, it's buckling everywhere. In other words, I think it's enormous.
Do you want this to be a boxy, larger fit thing, or do you want this to be more fitted?
I don't know. And I haven't once swatched and soaked this. And I've already ripped back all the way to the beginning once. So having discovered the flutter wing effect just before we started, I have decided that it is important for me, before I do anything else, to get this wet and to dry it.
Yes.
And to breathe.
Yes.
And to put it on and to measure it, compare it to the things in the pattern, and possibly rip the needles out and throw it in the garbage, or continue.
I also think right now you have it twisted because it looks like the stripe on one side is thicker than the stripe on the other side, right? And you did that intentionally, so it would kind of go up your back a bit.
Yeah, so I did short row shaping. So sorry, but it's still like,
yeah, it's very still.
Right, so this is the front. I can tell by this stitch marker right here.
Yeah.
All right, so
I've never knit a round yoke thing, so I just don't know if this is normal.
I don't know, because see, it has the stuff for the arms built in, right?
Yeah.
And that looks a little better. So I'm just a little panicked at the moment, I will be honest.
Judy's asking you if you did too many increases somewhere along the line, which would be ironic because before you did too few. No, you did maybe the right number, you just didn't have the right stitches.
Yeah, so I am fairly certain I'm following the pattern. This time. Last time I was following some kind of like bizarre interpretation of the pattern. So yeah, I'm feeling very ish about this sweater. I would love to have it knit, partly because I just really want to have something fun to wear. All the sweaters in my closet right now are very, like, they're just kind of serious. And I also want to get all this yarn out of my stash. So yeah, try on waste yarn is a good idea, Lisa, because the needles are buckling and everything. So I should probably thread it on waste yarn, like kind of pinch it in. It's a little too shallow to be like truly at that point right now anyways. Steaming, it's a good, maybe, like a partial answer. So that's my current whip that doesn't get as much love as it should right now because it's being complicated.
Yeah. I'm sorry that thing is being that way again.
Yes. So and all that I have left to talk about now is an FO. What do you have left on your agenda?
First of all, then there's a question in the chat if my blanket is lap size. And I honestly have not checked my gauge, but I am knitting it to the size of 48 inches by 60 inches. So I think that's more than lap.
Yeah, because 60 inches is 5 feet.
Yes,
I
it's
think
5
it is
feet.
kind of lappish. It's not like a chair Afghan, like,
Yeah, it's not going to get me all the way from my toes all the way up snugly,
yeah.
but it's going to be good like that. So the other things, I have 2 other things to talk about. So if you listen to the audio podcast, you know that I was debating whether or not I would be frogging 2 sockish projects or not, and then I did. So here is my Fade Walker mitt restarted. The last time I'd gotten up to here already. No, I think I finished it. Finished mitt 1 and just didn't like the fit. It was too small. And so I've gone up 2 needle sizes. These are now, I love the fact that I'm now officially doing this when I look for small text, pull it away from myself. These things are impossible to read. This is 2.75 millimeter 9-inch circular needles in Mud Punch Paradise Alpha. So you can see I'm knitting it with the yarn I used before, but it is much, much kinder to knit and will feel much more comfortable on as well. Whereas before it was tight, tight, tight. Now there's a little bit of give in there. So that'll be great. I'm mostly honestly working on socks and blanket these days. Oh, except for the thing that I haven't talked about yet. I've started it since the last time you and I talked to
Exciting.
anybody that wasn't just us.
Yeah. So the last thing I have to talk about are the socks I finished since we last did a video. And man, I have not been finishing much lately. Feels poopy. So these are the Dye For You at the Ram's Head socks that were an exclusive colorway designed based on the logo of the Manitoba Fiber Festival. They have a Ram's Head logo that has got some icy blue bits, some warm pink kind of colors, and then it's sort of gray and a little bit of gold. So it is interesting because these 2 colors are on the cool end and these 2 are on the warm end, and so they really do contrast each other. So I've got those socks finished. Stay tuned on the audio podcast. We don't do a full podcast on the YouTube lives. We just kind of keep this more casual and more show and tell, but it is time to do a more out than in reckoning because Advent calendars arrived. So that's the thing.
Do we record this Monday?
We do record this Monday.
Good.
I've started show notes. How about you?
Clearly not. So was that it? Is it my turn again?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. So Sarah and I have been talking off and on. Just look over your glasses. Yes, these glasses are really hard to look around. I used to look underneath my lenses, but these things literally touch my cheeks, so that's not possible. I'm glad I'm not alone in doing that. Sarah and I have been talking off and on about knitting something called the sweater weather wreath. It is
actually, it's not. We call it that, and it's not called that. It's like the cozy winter sweater wreath or something like that. But it's linked correctly it'll be correctly listed.
Yep. So it's called the sweater weather wreath on my blog where I track my projects. Anyway, so it's knit out of bulky weight yarn using size 11 needles. These are those interesting ones that I picked up. So they are triangular and have this interesting blob at the tip.
We're definitely not going to call those the nipple needles. We will not do that.
Which I actually really liked this. The way that these 2 tips kind of snag onto each other worked really, really well with the yarn that I'm using, which has absolutely 0 give and is really thick and fluffy. I'm using like a chenille type bulky weight from Michaels. And I tell you, there were times where I needed those things to kind of keep it together. So I've actually finished knitting
So exciting. A
itself.
scarf.
It's a scarf. It's a short scarf with just a really, really scrumptious braid. You'll see that I have stitch markers. That was recommended in the pattern, that you actually put stitch markers at the end of every repeat to help you then sew it together without twisting it.
So do you have one on either side then?
I do. Yep.
Okay.
They are paired.
Makes sense.
And I did 15 and a half. The wreath that I bought is smaller than the one it was written for. So I actually removed a stitch from one side and then did fewer repeats. Now the question is, do I know that this is big enough to fit on my wreath? I think it's going to honestly take just trying to do it, because you don't want it to be too loose, right? If it's too loose, then it's going to sag at the bottom. But I think once I seam this up, that should be pretty good. I hope. But yeah, so I still need to seam the ends together and then seam it to the wreath itself. I have bought a command hook.
Just to be clear, you don't seam it to the wreath. You seam it while it's on the wreath.
Yes.
In case people are wondering which. I will
seam these parts together and then wrangle it onto the wreath and then seam it into a tube around it. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a command hook for my door already. Once I've got this thing ready to go, I need to figure out.
It's going to be heckin' festive.
It is going to be hecking festive, and I need to weigh it. I might have enough left to do another one of these scarfy things. Not that I need 2 wreaths for my door, but
you know who does need a wreath for her door? Mom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now that you said this in public, she's gonna expect it.
But now that you've said that, now she's not. And now you're free to do whatever you want. You could also give it to me. I have more than one door.
Yes.
I have plans I haven't even stained up the yarn I'm using for that project, but yeah. I have one last push on a big work project. And when I'm done that, my reward is staining up that yarn and casting on.
It's a really pleasant knit. I really enjoyed working on it. It's one of those interesting cables where you have to do something in between the cross, or you have to so I'm very glad that I had a cable needle for this one. I bought one just to work on this project, but it was really satisfying. God, it's also just so big and so smushy that you just really enjoy working on it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I can't wait to get to mine. I'm so ready to be done this big push. I've been pushing since September, and I'm in the last bits of this, and then it's gonna go back to being just one job that I work, and it's gonna be so exciting to have evenings and weekends.
Yes. And
so this is my weekend. I'm doing lots of knitting on this. The last little bit, I need to reknit something where the prototype went wrong. I've got it edited and with the test knitters, so it's good enough to get to them, but to take pictures and everything, I'm reknitting it. So it's almost like I've got the weekend. For most people, this would feel like a weekend off because it's a weekend of knitting, but I'm reknitting something that I thought I was going to be done by this weekend.
It's design too, right? And design knitting is very different than knitting from somebody else's pattern.
Yeah, and you also I can't fudge necessarily. It's got to look right. The number of people who use pictures to count stitches, for instance, has surprised me. And so I get a little worried about what I fudge as a designer. There's fudging and the pattern works, and there's fudging and the picture will cause people to not understand. Right. And so I'm still willing to fudge, but I'm way more careful now that I realize just how many people actually blow up the picture if they have questions and will count.
Interesting. That's
it's terrifying. Strategy. I have to tell you, as a designer, to think that one stitch might get seen.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
looks like you're almost out of the tea and I'm almost out of tea. So, and I think we're both out of projects.
We are.
Does that mean it's time?
It is time. It's time to say thank you. I will put the show notes in, depending on how ready we are, the plan is to either get them in immediately or within a couple days. I think we both got things mostly listed. They won't be as thorough or as useful as the podcast show notes. This is to keep this fun and friendly for us. So anything that you're looking for that we haven't necessarily listed in the YouTube description, please go on to the Imagine Landscapes website and click on podcast, where we have vigorous notes for everything. And you can just even search on the website, like search a term or something like that within the search bar. It's really hard to find the search bar on the phone. I don't know what's happened when that format goes mobile. I find it hard to find the search on my phone. So if you're struggling to find the search bar, I'm not rebuilding my website anytime soon. So just a heads up.
You can also reach out to either one of us on our Instagram pages. Mine's Rora114.
Mine's Imagined Landscapes.
Imagined_landscapes, right?
Imagined_landscapes.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Katie. You have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you everyone for being here and for watching us later.
Yes, we're going to get better and better at this.
No, I meant like the replay.
Oh. Bye.
Bye.